Welcome to Haunted Narratives, where reality meets the supernatural. Prepare to be captivated by spine chilling tales of real life hauntings and paranormal encounters. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to never miss out on a hauntingly good story. So, our next story is The Night Ride to Sewri Cemetery. Bombay or Mumbai presently was, is, and always be the heart of our country. People of all religions and caste live here in harmony and peace. From the British era, Bombay has been the center of art and culture. It is said that Mumbai never sleeps, and that's really true. The nightlife of Mumbai is different from any other place in our country. Roads lit with colorful lights, monuments and buildings standing tall in pride from the British era are all worth seeing. But in this beautiful monument, there is one such place which everyone knows about, but no one wants to visit it on purpose. It is the Sewri Cemetery, which is one of the biggest cemetery from the British rule. It was established in 1864 by Sir Arthur Crawford, who was the first municipal commissioner of Bombay. It was basically acquired to bury the bodies of the British soldiers and officials. Later, it was opened for all Christians. Sewri Cemetery has a vast history of itself. Many prominent British officials are laid in there. Many graves are more than 100 years old. Just taking a walk in this place will take you back in Victorian era with an eerie feeling, sending chills down the spine. There are a number of haunting and ghost sighting in this cemetery, but all of the haunted stories, one which I have heard from my grandmother, who had listened it from her parents, is about a passenger who took daily ride to this cemetery, and this passenger was not an ordinary one, but he was the ghost of an Englishman who had died years ago in India and was buried in Sewri Cemetery. It was in the year 1911 when India was still under the British rule, when black and yellow taxi services were started. Only Britishers and rich Indians used to travel by this taxi. There was a man who had recently bought a taxi. He worked hard to support his family. He worked hard day and night, took many passengers to different parts of Bombay. Everything was going well in his life. But on a fateful night, when he met one of his passengers to Sewri Cemetery, everything changed. It was a dark night when the taximan was returning his home after dropping his last passenger. He was on his way when he noticed an English gentleman with a big hat and a long coat waiting in the dark alley of the road. The taxi driver stopped the taxi in front of the man. The man was looking mysterious, with his face fully covered under the shadow of his hat. The Englishman told the driver to take him to Sewri Cemetery. But before sitting in the taxi, he told the driver to cover the front mirror of the taxi with a cloth and not to look behind at him. The taxi driver got confused by this, but he thought maybe he is some big official, so he doesn't want to disclose his identity. The taxi driver agreed to all this and drove towards cemetery. On their way, none of them spoke a word. After some time, they reached near the cemetery. The Englishman told the driver to stop in front of the cemetery gate and not to look behind. He even told the driver that he will leave his fare money in the back seat. Before getting down, the Englishman once again warned the driver not to look behind and go straight away. The driver did as he was said to do, and in confusion and fear, he rode his taxi straight away and stopped after reaching a distance to check whether he had left the money or not. But to his surprise, the Englishman had actually left a large amount of money as his fare. The driver got puzzled. but he was happy with the amount he had received from his last passenger. Next day again, the driver was passing by the same dark alley where he had met the Englishman. And again, in the darkness of the night, he saw the same mysterious man waiting for a ride. He stopped his taxi again in front of the Englishman, and without uttering a word, the Englishman sat in the back seat and told the driver to take him to Sewri Cemetery. In their way, the driver thanked the Englishman for his generosity and the amount he had given him as his fare. The Englishman then told the driver to come and pick him up at the same place exactly at the same hour of the night daily, only on one condition, that the driver shouldn't look back at him. The driver agreed to it. Then they reached the cemetery and the taxi stopped in front of the gate. Again, after leaving him at the gate, the driver rode straight away and checked his back seat after reaching his home. He was surprised again to see the sum of money the Englishman had left. Then this became a daily routine of the driver to pick up the Englishman from the dark alley and drop him down at Sewri Cemetery. This continued for months. The driver didn't bother about who the man was or why he warned not to look behind. And in just few months, the driver started to live a life of luxury with the amount he was getting from his last passenger to the Sewri Cemetery. All the fellow drivers started to doubt on this driver after looking at his lavish lifestyle. They all inquired him and asked the secret behind his change, but he didn't utter a single word to them, as he had promised the Englishman not to tell anyone about this. But very soon, everything was going to change. One day, the driver was not keeping well, but then too, he wanted to go to take his last passenger for the ride. He was not in the condition of driving, but he knew the Englishman would be waiting for him. So one of his friends told him that he can take his last ride to Sewri Cemetery. The driver was not ready to allow him to go, but then he told him if he wants to go, then he should not talk or look behind at the Englishman. His friend agreed to this and went away, taking driver's taxi. He was happy because he knew it that the Englishman gave a nice sum of money for his fare. But more of all, he was very much interested in knowing who this man actually was and why he went to that cemetery daily. So on the regular hour of the night, he went in the same spot which his friend had told him to go. As soon as he reached the spot, he saw the man waiting for the taxi. Without a word, he stopped the taxi in front of him, and the man sat on the back seat. After some time, when the driver's friend was driving the taxi, he heard some noise coming from the back seat of the taxi. He was thinking to take a look behind, but as his friend had warned him not to look at the Englishman, so he didn't dare off looking at. In a few minutes, they were in front of the cemetery gate. He stopped the taxi and waited for the man to get down. As soon as he heard the opening of the taxi door, the driver turned his head to look back at the Englishman. The man started shaking badly in fear with the sight at which he was looking at. As the driver's friend turned his head, he saw that the man was still sitting on the taxi seat with red glowing eyes and black smoke-like aura, and his left leg was stretched from the taxi going above the cemetery gate up to a grave inside the cemetery. After looking at this sight, the driver's friend screamed in fear and was about to run. Just then, the man vanished in the black smoke in front of him. All this happening made driver's friend more nervous and scared, and he fell unconscious in the taxi itself. The next day, when he opened his eyes, he saw himself on a bed in a hospital, surrounded by doctor and his family members. After coming to sense, he was still trembling with fear. Just then, the driver arrived there and asked him about the night. The driver's friend, still shaking, narrated him the whole incident. He told him that even after he had warned him not to look behind, then too he saw and discovered that the passenger was not a human being but the soul of a long dead Englishman. The driver too was shocked upon hearing this. He always wondered about this but never thought of the man being a soul, as he had helped him with the amount which he used to give him daily as a fare to the cemetery. He was thankful to God for keeping him safe for so long from that spirit. From that day itself, he never drove his taxi at night, and most of all, he never took the night ride to Sewri Cemetery. Thank you for listening to my story, The Night Ride to Sewri Cemetery. For many more haunting stories like this, please do like, share, and subscribe to Haunted Narratives. Thank you.